Hello everyone, this is Zeeebo and welcome to this Etheria restart video. So Inferno Rengokutsu is one of my very last Inferno dungeons to clear. So I wasn't able to clear Rengokutsu because I don't have Kloss built up. So Kloss is actually a pretty crucial unit because Kloss increases your team's damage while reducing the boss and the minions damage output. Okay, but today there's actually a brand new team build which has been popping off in terms of the clear, and it is a Kloss-less build. So hopefully this team over here, or this idea over here, is one which for those of you guys who do not have Kloss can adopt for your own account. So this build idea is a blood buff build with Viper as well as your standard units. So I believe for this team, the key idea would be Viper as well as this matrix effects known as blood buff. Okay, so blood buff has the ability to reduce damage taken in the turn if it exceeds 20% of your max HP. So being able to reduce the additional damage by 55% is massive because it allows your units to stay alive in most cases and then counter attack. Right, so Viper right here has the additional benefit to reduce the damage taken by the crit hit from the allies. So this over here allows your allies to survive more reliably because the crit hit, in case the boss does a crit hit, is reduced massively. And more importantly, Viper has attack down as well as speed down on the third skill to actually give you that further damage reduction from the boss. So yeah, I think Viper is quite important if you do not have Kloss, because Viper is your damage reduction unit. So when you combine that with blood buff, the overall damage taken by your allies will be, I'll say, in a much more acceptable range. So next we have Yeli right here. So Yeli, as you guys can see, is also running the blood buff. So this blood buff is important to reduce the damage, obviously, and then the rest of the stats would be built to give damage to Yeli right here. So I'm not sure whether or not Yeli is a must, but Yeli does have a pretty good damage output with the ability to steal buffs from the opponent. So stealing the buff can either, number one, reduce the offensive firepower of the boss, or reduce the defensive capability of the boss in case the boss have a defense up. So that's for Yeli. Not sure whether or not the thing would work because I don't have my Viper built up yet. You probably need level 5 on Viper because this is actually super duper important, and having this scaled down to a 3-turn skill CD is massive. So Viper is quite crucial for this one, in my honest take. So Yeli I think could be substituted with other DPS, but with blood buff into the build itself so that you are able to actually take the hits from the boss. So next we have Linglor. So I think for Linglor slot it can be any other healers that is able to just heal your team back up. So Linglor has 511. So 511 is pretty standard for the dispel for other bosses like Aurora, for example. So same thing, blood buff, as you guys can see. So Lily is the only one without blood buff, but I think this Lily, or Lily in general, in terms of the main stats or the accessories, can be built defensively, so she doesn't die that easily. So that's why she doesn't need blood buff. So that's the idea. Okay, so Xiaolu right here is running this team, as you guys can see, and then we have Gigi. Gigi is also running the same team idea. Basically, it's blood buff together with your heal from Linglor. So I think if your Linglor as well as your Lily has sufficient defensive capabilities, you don't need blood buff. So like in most cases, what I observe is the Lily doesn't run blood buff, but the Yeli needs a blood buff because Yeli is relatively frail with less than 1500 defense, so she takes a lot of damage. So you need that blood buff to reduce the damage taken. So that's that, right? There's another one below right here, as you guys can see, I'm Paul. So it started off with I'm Paul today. Like I just saw I'm Paul when I woke up. I was like, okay, time to see whether or not there's any build for Rengokutsu Inferno. So I'm Paul right here, Viper, right? 515. I think this is the most important skill slash. You need this maxed out because you need this like spam to reduce the attack and speed of the boss, so you can jam in damage while surviving the process. So blood buff is the most important as well, as you guys can see. So Lily, no blood buff, right? Linglor, no blood buff. Okay, because like the defense as well as obviously the HP I think is high enough, so this unit doesn't die, so you don't actually need the blood buff. But the Yeli definitely needs the blood buff because in most cases you are building her offensively, so she doesn't have that much defensive capabilities on the defense and the HP, and that's why you need blood buff to reduce the damage. So without further ado, let's run through how this team works. Okay, so for this part we'll run through a few replays to gauge the auto friendliness of this team. I believe this team should be auto friendly because a lot of the skill cycles of this unit, they don't need to be in a particular order. Because you just need to survive for Viper to apply the debuff, and then Linglo to heal back up as long as you can take the hit with the bloodbath protection, and then you deal damage with your Yearly right here. Yeah, if I remember correctly, I don't think Rengokutsu has any self-buffing mechanics. Yeah, so immune to turn meter minus, so Vice might not be a good debuffer, but I think Vice could be usable as well, because Vice does have attack down, which reduces the damage output from the boss. So with bloodbath onto our Viper as well as Yearly, they're able to survive, and this is where you're able to subsequently heal your team back up with Linglo. So that's that. Oh yeah, wait, there's this debuff here. So evil, I think this evil fire might actually be a thing that might kill you in the long run, but I think with bloodbath as well as the attack down debuff and the heal from Linglo, the team is doing quite well in surviving. Okay. Yeah, slow and steady. Survive the AoE damage, survive the single target damage from the boss, and then we have the heal from Linglo with the drum guy. I don't think drum is that important. I think Supernova should also do the job with the massive heal increase with the heal over time, since the boss doesn't block any heal. Okay. I think from the looks of it, maybe Ditting can actually also do the job. But having units from the same element, okay, but Linglo and Viper is from the same element, so yeah. Okay, so the Viper is barely surviving right here. Let's see whether or not it's a clutch one. Okay. Oh, cool. I really like Yearly's sound effect, by the way. Hey, hey. The more A she do, the more attack she does on the end. Okay, so we got really lucky here in terms of the A. Okay, so D continues to debuff the boss. Okay, yeah, I think this is definitely auto-friendly. Doesn't seem to have a particular order in terms of the skill cast. So let's take a look at... Oh, there's a Vice and Kloss. Honestly, I think Vice can also do Viper's job. But the turn meter setback is useless against this boss, unfortunately. So we're gonna take I Am Pulse replay, 2 minutes and 20 seconds. Pretty reasonable timing, to be really honest. Yeah, normal attack. So Linglo doesn't heal. Oh, the drum guy might be important, because you might want to store the excess healing. Okay, I will try to build up my Viper, and then we'll do an auto run on our own account. But yeah, this is a brand new build without Kloss in the team. So the idea is still trying to find ways to reduce damage from the boss and then counter attacking from there. So the only damage scaling move from the boss is the Evil Fire stack right here. So I guess Evil Fire, as long as you can survive through it, should be fine. Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's a permanent debuff, so it should be okay. Additionally, I think Linglo also provides for the immunity against all the debuff from the minions right here. And I guess for the attack down debuffer, the reason why I suggested Vice is because Vice also can apply attack down debuff onto the summons as well as the boss. So we will be testing Vice out. I think Viper would be the best choice because Viper's second skill further reduces the damage from the boss. Okay. I do have a Yearly, so we're gonna test out whether or not Ditting can do the job vs a Yearly, for example. But I do think that Yearly is gonna be important though, because of that stat steal and also that high damage burst, so that you can finish the boss quickly. Okay. Yep, I think that's pretty much it. I think this run will just end in the boss being brought down after the whole team surviving. So yep, that's for this build. Hopefully this build is able to help you pass your Inferno Rengokutsu. I'll probably build up my Viper first before attempting to do the runs on this stage. I'll also be trying Vice out as a substitute to see whether or not Vice can work against this boss in case you don't have enough resources to build up a Viper. Thank you very much for tuning in. Do remember to like, subscribe to see more. I'll see you guys again in my next video. Bye guys!